Well, hello, I'm Jennifer Pettinger-Haines, and I'm here with Nichola Beskine-Taylor, both double-barreled, from TGP International. And we're going to be talking about sustainable hospitality, which is a really interesting topic. And first of all, Nichola, I would love you to tell me just exactly what do you consider to be sustainable hospitality?
Um, so we focus on what we see as the kind of the priority areas, I think, to filter out into things that people traditionally see as sustainability, things like waste and, the environment and animal welfare, like the seas and all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
But we see that the primary thing, sort of starting of sustainable hospitality with creating sustainable careers in the industry and in
Wow.
turn being able to create sustainable profit.
Mhm.
Because if we can create businesses that we know that the industry has one of the highest rates of failure of any industry, to be honest, and that's partly
Unfortunately.
because so many people love to come into the industry and then find out it's actually quite tricky, but also it's an industry that seems to have so much amazing talent come through and out of it. Unfortunately,
Right.
so many people relate to like doing being a waitress or bartender or whatever at university, and then they leave to go on to do their career.
Mhm.
And if we can retain that talent in the industry, we can then enable an industry that's got perhaps what I guess better talent pool that we can then create
Mhm.
more sustained profit. So it's sort of twofold: one, keeping the talent or attracting amazing talent into the industry, and two, creating opportunities for people to create businesses that then can create sustained profits. So that if we've got then an industry that is, I guess, better performing on that level,
Mhm.
you then create the resource and the headspace to start to think about, how do I reduce waste? How do I look at my supply chain that is more localized and not flying things from around the world? How do I, remove kind of plastic, I guess, from what I'm doing? Those sorts of things become time things that you can start to look at if you've
Mhm.
created an industry that is standing on its own feet, or a business that can then support sustainable profit. there's um there's a
That's fascinating because I mean that's so different to what we generally think of kind of as sustainable. The word sustainable, we all, as you said, associate it with kind of the things that you can do rather than, the business itself or people's careers. But you're right, it's totally intrinsic to the whole ecosystem, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds it automatically people go, that's not got anything to do with sustainability, but actually it's the starting point for any business. If
Hmm.
profit isn't a bad thing. Profit allows people to have to eat well, to be able to have a standard of living.
Hmm.
There's I guess a model by Kate Raworth called Donut Economics, which I don't know if you've seen. It literally looks like a donut. You've got on the outside, the environment and all of the things that we
Hmm.
associate with sustainability, I think, and in the middle you've got a safe place for humanity. So like you know home, housing, clean water, and that sort of thing. And a huge chunk of the world is worrying about clean water, but still, there's hospitality in those places, in those countries as well. There's coffee bars and restaurants and that kind of
Hmm.
thing. So actually, if even in those parts of the world, we are creating a place where people can create sustainable businesses, they in turn can then start to think about the things that are outside the donut that we consider the traditional things of sustainability.
Amazing.
So
So getting the
for us,
foundations right, that kind of strong
exactly.
foundation for people to then be able to build. That makes total sense. And I think obviously we've heard a lot about Saudi's vision like 2030, and I know that people are a big part of that vision as well. So I imagine that hospitality and sustainable hospitality could have a big part to play in Saudi's vision 2030.
A huge part. And again, it's about Saudiization creates an amazing opportunity. We've got the potential of all these new incredible people coming into the industry. But what we'd love to do is create an industry that people want to stay in. It's not that stepping stone thing
Yeah.
that we all can recognize it can be. And the only way it's not going to be a stepping stone thing is that there's careers there. So either like in hospitality traditionally, as we would, you move from, I don't know, waiter to manager and so on, but also like all of the affiliated careers that that's hospitality sustained. So
Mm.
marketing, specializing in hospitality, or finance and managing restaurants, to project management, to all of the different things that hospitality touches, and also the supply chain. If you think about like farming and production and delivery, drinks and all of that sort of thing, it has this huge reach. So for what Saudi's looking to achieve for its tourism number for 2030, the amount of Saudis that need to come into the industry is I think a huge exciting opportunity. Obviously for us as hospitality consultants, that's something that we're excited about. But the most important thing is that we create an industry that can sustain people within it, and that they want to stay in it. I think
Mm.
so. Again, we come back to that careers and entrepreneurship, creating opportunities. I can't remember what the statistic is of Saudis between the sort of 25 to 30 bracket, but it's something like 40%.
Sorry, I was just going to say, what do you think? I mean, obviously, that's something I think everyone in the hospitality industry can agree on, that we need people to choose hospitality as a career and to stay in it and to have a path for growth. But what do you think some of the barriers to sustainable hospitality are, and how can they be overcome?
So I think of sustainable hospitality specifically, or hospitality just
Well, I think
full stop.
sustainable practices within the hospitality industry. So we're creating, how do you think we can kind of create an industry that's more, sustainable and better at keeping people and attracting people?
Yeah, I think help support with entrepreneurship. So something that we have created as a sister business is Game Changers, which helps entrepreneurs come into the industry, and we support them with a network of with TGP of designers, marketing, concept development. We can even often operation support, because a
Mhm.
huge barrier to starting in hospitality is that you need to do everything. You need to be like a bit of an
Yeah.
expert in everything, right? To just serve coffee, you need to, HR and finance and all of those things, branding, marketing, digital marketing, it goes on and on. So it's so cost prohibitive to get a really exciting business up and running. Whereas, if you want to compare it to retail, you can sell something from your bedroom and deliver it, and actually,
Yeah,
market
that's
it
true.
online. Actually,
Hmm.
the costs can be a lot less. Obviously, they could be huge. So there's a huge barrier financially, and helping. So helping incredible talent come into the industry as an entrepreneur, they need a network around them to support them. And that's something that we've been working with the likes of Kingdom Holdings, with Al Mamlaka as the food hall project. So to create, food halls are an amazing place where they can incubate talent with a really low risk. They can try out a concept, and then if they've developed the concept and it's sort of evolved, it can then move on to bricks and mortar site once it's tested and proven. So those are great places to incubate and test and learn kind of entrepreneurs, but then also then helping them with, so I guess, education and how to run a business efficiently. So things
Yeah,
like
because that's a challenge, I think, is that a lot of people don't, and you have a lot of really talented chefs or entrepreneurs who go in, but they're not necessarily business people. So they know how to create a great product, but the rest of it is really challenging.
that's exactly the point, Jennifer. Yeah, that's exactly, that's where anybody, needs some support and learn. You can be incredibly skilled in one area, but to be able to be a general business, manager is, huge amount of different skills that you need to be able to pick up, and so you need that support to learn those skills and test them in an environment that's like a bit of a, slightly less risky than just starting on your own on a strip mall, for example. And again, that's what a food hall offer provides, but also, working with Expo, and, these large scale, like landowners, asset owners that can facilitate opportunities for entrepreneurs that can be supported by, a third party that can help them along that journey. So, things like just menu engineering so that it's reducing waste. So it's not costing you as much to serve the food, or managing a rota so that it protects employees and it gives them, they're not working any time that they should, if they're working fair hours, but also that it's as efficient as possible with, days off and rotas and that kind of thing. That all takes practice and time. And if you're an amazing, baker or something, you probably haven't had that experience yet.
You continue, Nichola, and then I was going to ask you about if you can tell me more about the project, 'cause it sounds really interesting, if that's in Saudi or where that's taking place. The
Yes,
food hall
Expo's in Dubai. Yeah, so creating the legacy project for Expo, is an incredible opportunity. We're overseeing the F&B master planning for the city and the F&B leasing, so that we're converting it from what was an event space into a city, which comes with its own own requirements. But we want that mix of international brands and local talent, and be able to give that local talent the opportunity to try products or to bring interesting new concepts to the city. I mean, we were talking about barriers to sustainable hospitality, and one of the other things that we're really working with Expo on is, traditionally you say the word sustainable and it just adds more cost at the moment. And one of the
Yes.
things that it just does. It just, everything costs more money when it's sustainable at the moment, and we know that's not the right approach. So, we've got tenant liaisons that we've got as part of the team to help them through looking at their supply chain and looking at their resourcing strategy, so that they can, be as sustainable as possible, as can be afforded, and also meet the, amazing benchmark that Expo are setting, as being one of the leading kind of cities in sustainability in the region, which is super exciting. But yeah, that's not easy to unpick. We're also working with Kingdom Holdings, I mentioned, so to create this one of the first food halls in Riyadh. And one of the things that is really really nice about the concept is that it's super localized. We've got some international chefs and brands coming into it, but even where they're international, the menus are being developed so that they are as local as possible, in terms of ingredients and kind of cultural preferences. And I think that's certainly one of the trends that is really nicely tying in with sustainability, is that people are much more interested in seeing things that are rooted in the locality of where they are. So from sourcing to ingredients, and just naturally that tends to work better. It tastes better. You can feel it. It has that. It feels rooted in the location, as opposed to being flown across the world.
Let me ask you, because I was really surprised when we were in Saudi for Griff, Saudi Arabia, how much, when we went to certain venues that were Saudi venues, how much was locally sourced in terms of the products for the food products. Is that something that you're seeing coming online more and more in terms of locally sourcing and the ability to locally source within Saudi?
I mean, I think one of the things that I have to profess I was ignorant to is how diverse and rich the Saudi produce and provenance is. They've got incredible farms and incredible produce in the country, and without sounding trite, it needs to be celebrated. They've got all the reasons to celebrate it. And it's just amazingly rich and diverse culture. One of the loveliest projects we're working on is with Saudi Coffee Company and helping them realize
Mm.
the concept that they've created, which is Jazeen. So Jazeen is the
Mhm.
brand for Saudi Coffee Company, and we've been developing the store in the diplomatic quarter and another pop up that they've been working on, and that for those that don't know, Saudi is the home of the Arabica coffee bean, and this is like heroing, this is highlighting the Saudi coffee farming community, taking from all of the Saudi farms and creating, Saudi coffee brand. And the aspiration is to take that globally because, and that's a really interesting story, I
Yeah,
think, for people to see.
that's super interesting. But what I find also quite unique, or is this kind of ambition or the drive to take Saudi cuisine to the world, which I think is amazing because there's a lot of people I think who are now wanting to take, well, developing concepts with the express intent of taking it global because there seems to be this mission to really um, kind of culturally export Saudi Arabia, which makes total sense because I feel like, there's not much out there to help you understand Saudi from a food perspective or a cultural perspective if you live outside the Middle East.
No, definitely. And yeah, exactly. People are, including myself up until a few years ago, very naive to how rich and diverse it is. And, there's, I think, DGDA or Doria Gate is another great example of, the culture and how that can be blended with contemporary brands and look really interesting and different to what else you can get in the world, to be honest. So, working with projects like Kadia and Neom and Red Sea Development Company, they all and really interesting working with ITHRA, the World Cultural Centre based in Al Khabar, so fiercely proud of the Saudi culture, and nothing is done, no matter how global the team is. And certainly in the case of some of these projects, there's people dialing in from literally every continent in the world, it seems.
Mm.
But everybody's brought together to deliver
Mm.
something that is unique to Saudi, and I think that sort of ties in again with that big drive, which we see everywhere. You see in London, Londoners are interested in restaurant concepts that are local, that are London, that are kind of
Mm.
niche and have local products. They might be an international cuisine, but they are using British produce. So, same in America. It's literally the
Mm.
same thing. So this, which
So
which
people
works
want
perfectly
local.
with
Yeah.
the story. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And I
Yeah.
think tying back to what we were saying in terms of sustainability, a lot of sustainable hospitality, the drive on the consumer side is being felt, I think, in the restaurant world now in terms of demanding things that are more sustainable, more local, more, as you say, kind of genuine or rooted in the local culture.
Definitely. We all have been to resorts and places around the world where you just feel like you've seen it's copy and paste of somewhere
Mm.
else,
You could
and
be anywhere.
that's people. Yeah, people want something that is rooted in where it's from, and feels authentic, and they've travelled wherever they've travelled in the world, and they want to taste and experience something different. And that whole experience culture is, I think, a really interesting shift in placemaking, that we're noticing in the master planning projects we're working on. That
Mm.
traditional retail, like F&B landscape is shifting, and even your traditional retail shop is offering something that's experiential, and F&B is obviously a huge part of that experience economy, should we say.
Fair enough. Nicola, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. It's been fascinating. And I think what you're saying makes total sense in terms of needing to create a sustainable business and a sustainable workforce, because before we can kind of take it that step further. So thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you in person one of these days.
Yeah, thank you. Likewise, great to speak to you.